Alright, today we're going to be hacking a Panasonic Lumix TS4. This is a waterproof camera and it has the ability to do video as well as still pictures. So I'm going to be hacking it for that. You're going to need a Phillips screwdriver and a 1.5 millimeter hex drive tip to get the front and back covers off of this camera. Alright. And to start with, take out the two screws that are on the bottom by the tripod mount. And as you'll notice, I've already got this camera hacked, so I'm just going to take it apart and show you the hack points on it. And this is it's going to be quite an involved hack because you have to totally dismantle this camera to get to what we need for the hack. So we've got the two out on the bottom, and then on this left hand side there's a piece of trim. It's got two Phillips screws there. We'll remove those. Okay, and that trim piece come off. And then on the top there's one Phillips screw right here that we need to remove. Alright, now to get the front and back covers off, there's two screws on the back here. That's the 1.5 hex drive. Remove those. And then on the front, although it looks like there's four, actually the only two we need to remove are on the left hand side over here. The two on the right are just aesthetic. Remove those two on the left. Alright, and then from here we can get our front and back cover off. Just work your way all the way around. Okay, and then we take the front one off. This one may be a little bit more difficult to get loose. See if I can start up here at this top left. Trying to get in there, get that to start coming up. Okay, and then you can just pull that whole front off. Alright, now we need to take off this top trim piece here, and on the top left corner there's a Phillips screw you need to remove. And that's a pretty long screw. Alright, then flip our camera over. You'll notice that there's 6 Phillips screws around the perimeter of this back. We need to remove all of those. And all of these will be the same length. Alright, so now that we've gotten all of the screws out on this back, you can just lift up on it, but be careful with it because you'll notice underneath there's 3 ribbons that we need to disconnect. You can start with the middle one, disengage that latch for it, and then slide that middle ribbon out, and then you can rotate your LCD screen over. and disengage the other latches. Slide those ribbons out, and we can move our LCD screen. We don't need that anymore. Alright, now from here, excuse me, we need to remove, there's one screw here on the side that we need to remove. And this is going to have a little O-ring with it. Excuse me. See if we can get that screw out of there. Alright. And now we need to remove this metal trim piece here. Start with the screw here, and then there's 3 across the top. And this one right here on this right hand corner is a little bit different screw. It's got a flatter head to it. It's going to be shorter than these others. So we'll go ahead and take these out. And that's a relatively long screw there that came out of that bottom right corner. May want to try to keep these screws kind of in a separate pile as you're taking them out, you know, for each different thing, so kind of keep up with where they all go back. And the 2 at the top are a little shorter screws than the one that we removed from the bottom right corner. Okay, now that we've got those screws out, we can remove our little metal band here. Get that out. And now we need to remove our shutter assembly, and to do that, disengage the latch for this ribbon and for this ribbon. Just rotate those up and be really careful with them so you don't break them. Pull this larger ribbon out at the bottom, and then gently work that other one up because it's a little more fragile than that bottom one is. Now you can lift up on the shutter assembly and remove the whole shutter assembly out of the case. Now that we can take off this top trim here, there's a latch right here on the corner. Kind of get under there and pop that up, and then rotate it over a little bit because there's another catch on the front, and you can take that whole trim piece off. And more than likely there's this little piece of metal here that's going to fall out, and it fits right in this area here. You'll notice that there's 2 little studs to the right side of this screw, and that piece will fit over like that, so just keep up with that. Alright, now we need to get our whole menu board and battery compartment and power board out of here, but first thing you need to do is discharge your capacitor, or at least check to see if it needs to be discharged. And right down in this corner at the bottom of the board, you'll notice the 2 contacts in there for the capacitor. So go ahead and discharge that before we go any further. Alright, I've got my capacitor discharged, and that's not a real easy spot to get to get in there to discharge that capacitor, so you have to be really careful so that you don't short out anything there. But we definitely need to get that discharged before we start trying to take everything else out. Now, I've already got my camera hacked, as I said, and I drilled out the tripod mounting hole here so I could have an exit point for my wires for my hack. I'm gonna go ahead and pull these up so I can show you what I've done, or at least show you how to finish disassembling the camera so we can get to the hack points on it. Alright, but we need to remove this ribbon here that's for the GPS and the speaker, or excuse me, for the microphone, and then the ribbon below it, which is for the flash capacitor circuit. We need to disengage that and remove that, and that's why we needed to discharge that capacitor before we started taking out this ribbon right here, because if you don't, then it's a good possibility you may short out your boards. So go ahead and get that ribbon disengaged. Alright, got that. And now there's one other ribbon at the top. Get these wires out of my way. The ribbon right here coming off of the power board. Let's go ahead and get that latch lifted. Remove the 2 screws across the top of this main board. Let's go ahead and get those out, and that will make it easier to get that other ribbon disengaged from the block. Alright, and now you can get under the bottom edge of this board and work it up. Kind of work it over this direction, pull it towards you so it disengages or gets the USB hoods loose, and now you can slide that board down. Get all my wires out of the way here, and that will disengage your ribbon there. So I'm going to go ahead and slide my wires out. Now on your main board, in order to have audio with your video, the block that was right here, it's got 7 pins on it, and the bottom 2, pin number 6 and pin number 7 down, will be where you need to solder on wires for your microphone. Pin number 6 is going to be mic negative, and pin 7, which is the bottom one, it's going to be mic positive. Now that's a really hard spot to solder to without bridging pins together. So you know, it's up to you if you decide to try to have your audio with your video. Like I said, it's a really hard spot to solder those wires to. And then once you get them soldered in place, I would suggest bringing them down here and kind of tape them in place so that they don't get jostled around a lot. Otherwise you may break that connection where you have it soldered on. Alright, now to get to our power board, so we can do the power, shutter, and video button hack, and also to get in here to do our externals, we need to remove our battery compartment and the power board. And right in this area here, there's one screw down inside that we need to remove. Get that loose, and I'm going to open up my battery door. Now we should be able to lift up on this whole assembly here. Be careful of your flash ribbon. And now we can remove the remainder of our boards. And your power board, of course, is up top. And for the power button, you need to solder to the bottom left corner. The shutter button, solder to the bottom right corner. And the video button, solder to the bottom right corner. Okay, now to do the externals for this camera, you're going to need to remove your flash board, and there's a piece of tape that goes across right here that just kind of holds those wires in place. You can peel that back, take it off, whatever, and then at the corner up here, there's one screw that we can remove. Take that screw out. Right, and now we can work this entire flash board out of here. It may take a little fiddling around, but you can get that worked up here. Alright, I've got the top corner of this board unclipped now, and you can just push up and work that capacitor out of there, and then you can rotate that board over. And in this configuration, to do your externals, solder a wire to the flat part of this tab here. That would be your battery external negative, and then the one to the far right is battery external positive. And then to have an access point to run your wires out, on the back of the battery housing, I trimmed out an area right here. I just snipped that out, and be careful, you don't want to split and break your whole battery compartment, but just clean out an area right there. And that way when you put this board back in position, it will have your wires coming out the back like this. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can make sure I got my board seated in place like it should be, and it looks like it is. Alright, now we can just reverse steps on everything. Go ahead and put that screw back in. Make sure you're not going to screw down any of the wires and cut those. Okay, we got that screw back in. Now we've got our external wires in place. I'm going to route those over this direction, along with the rest of those wires. Now when I put my tape back in place, so I can get it to stick, it kind of keeps my external wires in position over there as well. Okay, and that way they'll run straight down the side of the capacitor, and we can route them out our hole that we drilled at the tripod mount. And like I said, from here it's just a matter of reversing your steps, getting everything back together, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, one thing I wanted to show you before I got the camera completely back together was I've already got my main board back in place, and to route my microphone wires, because of where I soldered them on and the way I have them coming down, I just went ahead and brought those down the back side of this main board, and I taped them in place here and bring them down right under this latch for this shutter assembly ribbon, and that way they won't get in the way of the ribbon, latch, or the little metal bracket that's got to go there. You can work them around without that bracket cutting into them. Now for my power wire, my shutter wire, and my video wire, I brought those across to the left and tucked them in right in this area here. There's an opening. You can just kind of push those in and run them straight down and out the tripod mounting hole, and then you can go ahead and connect your flash ribbon and the GPS and microphone ribbon back in, and then you can get your shutter assembly and that metal bracket back in and finish putting the camera back together, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so I've got my camera completely back together now, and one thing that I forgot to mention to you was on this camera, like any camera, whenever you're soldering on your wires, use a little bit of soldering paste at your solder spots. Pre-tin your wires, and it'll make it just a lot easier to get those connections made. So I'm going to go ahead and check my hack, and first thing I'm going to do is check my externals to make sure we're getting a good voltage reading there. So I'll get my battery negative and battery positive wires, and I'm getting a reading of 3.65 volts, so I know my external connections are good. Alright, now for this camera you can use your battery negative as your common for the power, for shutter, and for video. So if I take my battery negative wire and my power wire touch those together, and my camera powers up. And take a still photo, take the shutter wire and our battery negative, and we get a still photo. And we'll do that again, and we'll get another photo. Now if we take our battery negative and our video wire, touch those together, and we are now recording video. Alright, and touch those once again, and we stop. Alright, so that's the hack on the Panasonic TS4. Appreciate you watching. Thanks.